Welcome back, everybody, to the Birdies and Bourbon Show. We are being joined tonight by infielder for the Pittsburgh Pirates, Kevin Kramer. Kevin, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely. So a little bit jealous. The good news is I'm going to be sipping on the same whiskey you are. However, I cannot do it outside, man. So rubbing it in already, starting the show off right.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. So spring training hasn't started yet, right?
No, pitchers and catchers reported today. It's been obviously weird with COVID and getting us all tested and stuff. So I got done here early, trying to get my family settled, just kind of hanging out. We're obviously staying on a golf course, so I've been able to get out a couple times. But being from Arizona, getting out to Florida, time change, kind of getting into a little bit of a routine. So I'll start in a couple days here once I go, through the intake testing and then physicals, and then we'll be hitting the ground running.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, so before we get started, I got a lot of questions for you. Oh, we got another first timer. We have not had a baseball player on the show yet.
We have not.
So we're
awesome.
we're breaking new ground. I'm sure I probably should have brushed up on my baseball terminology, but the good news is I do know a little about golf. I know a little bit about whiskey, but we are not professionals at either. So we just like to have a good time. But so I sent you over some samples, and we got 3 bottles. So ABC. And we're going to do a blind tasting. So we know what we're drinking, but we don't know what's in each glass. Okay. And we'll kind of talk a little about these as we're getting to know you a little bit on the show. So I'll tell you why I picked these 3 bottles. So these are all, I'll call them kind of craft spirit companies. We've got 2 that are source product. Eventually they're going to be, they've already distilled their own stuff. They're just letting it age. And then we've got 1 that is, it is distilled and bottled at the actual distillery. But all 3 of these are either a high rye mash bill or 100% rye. So we're kind of going into the rye whiskey category. We're going to get some different nuances off of all these, but yeah, it should be fun, man. And we'll gain a little bit of knowledge about rye whiskey today.
Beautiful.
So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. I'm going to go with nose A, kind of see where we wind up with this one at. Yeah, I think I sealed those bottles that way they wouldn't leak.
Oh, it's got tape on it. It's got tape on it.
Oh,
yep.
That'd be a good start. Take the tape off.
He's tricky,
right?
Man. He's tricky. He's really upped his game on the packaging.
Hey,
I'll tell you
the
that.
packaging was fantastic.
Well, it's like, so if I don't tape them up like that, so amateur hour, right? So if you ship in plastic bottles, they almost all the time leak, like the little airplane bottles. Almost all the time those things leak, and into the glass bottles, if you don't seal it, put some tape or something around it, they have a propensity to leak too. So, all right. So I'm kind of getting, the thing that jumps out to me the most on this one, I'm getting a little bit of brown sugar. I'm getting a little bit of mint on the nose.
I definitely get the mint. I get a little brown sugar too. I get a little citrus too.
Yeah, got some citrus. I got a kind of a thin mouthfeel. Kind of hitting me on the tip of the tongue. So not getting the finish is, I'd say it's quite short on the finish, but pretty tasty. So Kevin, where are you at in Florida?
We're in Bradenton, just outside of Sarasota.
Okay, awesome. And what course are you on?
We are on River Strand Golf and Country Club.
Huh.
So
Right.
it's a little, it's a little bit of an older community. I actually stayed out here. I actually bought a place, a condo here when I first signed with the Pirates. I got to claim some Florida residency for our bonus, but I lived out here for 1 off season and was able to train at the facility. But it's a good spot. It's a solid course. It's a little bit of an easier course, which I love, of course. But
yeah, sure.
It's a good spot, and I loved it when I lived here because most of the members would play in the morning, so you had pretty much from 1:30 on.
Course is wide open.
I was knocking out before a kid. Obviously, I was knocking out a round in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sweet.
you know, and
Wow.
jump in the pool and then dinner at 5. So, I mean, it was great.
Do you play left-handed or right-handed on golf?
I play right-handed,
I do too.
which is really, really awesome because I don't have to worry about a swing. You know, like I remember I played in college. We were playing golf on off days at a local course that you would play a 6-hour round, Rancho Park, right there in the middle of LA.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And we got in the next day after the off day, and our coaches were giving us crap because we were playing golf. They're like, "It's going to ruin your swing. It's going to ruin your swing." And I'm like, "I golf righty, so we're good." And they're like, play as much as you want. From then on, it's been great. So
That's awesome. Yeah.
Sweet. So you went to UCLA, right?
yes, sir.
So did you ever have a chance to play Riviera Country Club?
I wish. I wish.
Okay.
That's a common answer. I wish.
Yeah, right. Me and like one of my best golf partners, who was also a baseball player, we got to know some of the golfers on the UCLA team pretty well. And their 2 home courses was Bel Air and Mountain Gate, which is like sits above the 405 and looks straight down.
Oh, wow.
Oh, awesome.
And so we never got to play Bel Air, but there was one time that we went on with a golfer and we posed as golfers. And we got to play Mountain Gate, and then we both shanked our first tee shots, and the guy was watching us.
He's like, yeah, something's not right.
It's like we couldn't have just hit one fairway. That's the only fairway you needed to hit the whole entire round. But no, I have not. It's funny because I didn't really start playing golf until I got to college.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so, you know, I was so busy playing baseball growing up. I also played football in high school. So during the summertime, it was pretty much back and forth baseball and football.
Okay.
So I started playing golf in college, which is not a time in your life that you should really be spending extra money because you're
Right.
a broke college kid. And then obviously, you know, getting drafted, I had a little bit of time in the off season to come up to play golf. So that's kind of where it started to really, you know, grow. And obviously my passion for the game is very high. So kind of all works out.
So kind of are there takeaways that you're able to leverage in either golf or baseball from a swing standpoint that where you've kind of correlated the two and said, okay, well, and it may not be that I'm using it, that you're applying it. It may be that, hey, I know I don't need to do this because it's going to, impact it one way or the other.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of takeaways for me, not only in the game of baseball and golf, and also with when it's related to swings. I think biomechanically, golf is so far ahead of baseball, and just in terms of understanding how the body moves. And I think the one thing in baseball is like, well, we can't control it because the ball's moving. And it's like, that may be true, but at the same time, as a hitter, these pitchers are so good that all you're trying to do on a consistent basis is put yourself in the best position possible.
Right.
And so like the pitcher has no effect on that. If you're able to put yourself in a consistent position every single day and you're in a good spot to hit and a good spot to rotate, that's your main focus. Whether you hit the ball hard or whether you hit the ball and get a hit or a double or a homer, that's out of your control.
Yeah.
You can hit a 105-mile-an-hour line drive and line out to the second baseman. And, some guys are like, man, I didn't get a hit. My average is going down. And I'm like, well, but I did what I was supposed to do. I controlled what I was supposed to control. And I think that's where I start to relate it into golf. I can hit a perfect drive and it can hit in the middle of the fairway and hit a sprinkler head and end up in the bunker.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, yeah, it's not ideal, but I did what I was supposed to do. And there are certain things where I'm like, it's a good test for me also to play golf in the middle of the year sometimes, because it's a good reminder, like, yeah, golf and baseball are really hard. And it's nice to have a little bit of grace with yourself when things maybe aren't going your way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in my opinion, and not just because I play both of them consistently, but they're two humbling sports, because in baseball, the old adage is if you get 3 out of 10 hits, you're a Hall of Famer. Well, not many guys even hit 300 anymore because everyone throws 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But in golf, you could hit all the great shots and it may not add up to birdies. It may not add up to a good score at the end of the round. And I think that's where I kind of see that shift in, it's a mental workout more than anything. And that's why we all are just suckers for the game.
That's a great answer, because what I thought he was going to say, Cal, is that he hasn't played T-ball since he was 8.
No, that's my line. Don't be stealing my lines. All right. So, hey, and Save Summit A, we're going to revisit it after we go through some of these. I'm still working on A little bit. So I'm kind of getting kind of some malty or a grain thing on that one as it's kind of sitting around and opening up a little bit.
I don't know why, but I keep getting like a little hint of like honey, just a little bit.
On A?
Yeah.
On A, okay.
Yeah, I'm getting it on the finish is where I'm getting kind of the honey part at. Yeah, you too. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna slide over to B and test this one out.
I do get the honey on A too. Yeah.
So as a baseball player, you know, as a kid, right? You're growing up and hey, I want to do this and whatever. It doesn't have to be baseball, but let's say in your case, well, I don't know. I'll ask you. In your case, was it be a baseball player?
I mean, initially, no. I mean, of course, right? The pipe dream is everyone wants to be, you know, a Hall of Famer. Yeah, I come from a smaller town, so like no one really. There was a very, very select few of guys that went on and played, you know, not only in college but in the professional levels. So yeah, I mean, I always, you know, of course, you know, the one dream is I'd love to be a baseball player, but I don't think I really, you know, fully understood, you know, the fact that I was going to be putting myself in a position to do that one day. My dad was a firefighter. So like,
oh, wow.
You know, for me growing up, I lived in the firehouse. You know, If I wasn't playing, we were at the firehouse. My mom is an absolute saint for handling 3 boys. I'm the youngest of 3 boys. So we would drive up, you know, my dad worked, you know, 20 minutes away. We drive up and we hang out at the firehouse all day long. And it was great. And it was, you know, a family environment. We got to know, obviously all the firefighters in the department, but you know, those guys are like second dads to me. So I think for me growing up, like it was, you're going to be a firefighter. You want to be like your dad. You get to slide down the old style poles. And it was like, man, this is what it's all about. And then obviously as I got a little bit older and started to play more and started to play a little bit more competitively, it turned into like, yeah, I could probably do this. So I think that's, for me, it started out as it's just what you did because you were good at it. And because my brothers played it and everyone played it. And then, you know, little by little, I was that kid that was, you know, better than everyone because I had played more than anyone.
Right.
You know, my brothers are 4 and 7 years older than I am. So I was playing from an early age. And so inevitably, I ended up better than most of the kids in the area. And then it kind of turned into one of those things where you started going out of the area to play. And then at that point, I was like, yeah, I think I could probably do this. Maybe not in the big leagues, but definitely the next level. And I think that was kind of my approach was, let's take it a little step by step and not get ahead of ourselves. And then now we're here.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool. And I'll take a sip, and I'll ask this one. You can kind of think about it before you answer. But so when did you, I mean, can you remember like when you woke up and you're like, holy shit, like I can actually really go. I mean, is there like a specific moment, or did it just kind of gradually turn into, you know, I'm going to go all the way?
Number one, B is really good. For me, you know, like I played on a travel team out of the Bay Area up in San Francisco, and I'm from the Central Valley, about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. And so like I started playing with that team and I was the worst kid on the team and I didn't play very much. And so that was kind of a little bit of a culture shock for a kid that was the best kid, you know, in the town or whatever you want to say, not being, you know, braggy, but like just in general, I went to an out of area team to play against better competition. And I started out on the bench for this team, and the coach was like, hey man, you're not going to play a whole lot. These players are just better than you and they're more developed. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I'm not, but I stuck it out and, you know, kind of worked my way into a starting job as a 14-year-old, but I mean, truthfully starting job. And then when I think it really blossomed was I was playing out in Arizona where I live now, but as a 15-year-old, and it was like this USA tryout, you know, USA baseball tryout tournament where you play on your own team, but there's evaluators there, and they picked me to go and try out for the team. So it was a fully separate tryout. They held it at Cal State Fullerton out in LA, and they hosted, I think, like 64 guys, and it was like a week-long, I want to say fantasy camp, but a week-long tryout, and you were playing every day. I ended up making the team and played for the 16 and under USA team, and my starting shortstop was Francisco Lindor.
Yeah,
and nice. I played second base. And I think for me at that point was like, holy crap, you have to like look up and realize that you are a really good player, and you want to obviously remain humble, but at the same time, you have to understand where you've come from and where you are now. And I mean, shortly after that, I committed to UCLA. And I think from that point on, I was like, okay, you've put in the work, you're here. That doesn't mean you stop working, but you have to also appreciate the fact that, you know, you come from a small town, you got a chance to play on the USA team, got a chance to play with some really, really good players. And, you know, next thing you know, you're at UCLA, next thing you know, you get drafted, next thing you know, you're in the big leagues. Like those little things right there. But I think that making that USA team was like, okay, I can do this. You know, I not that I belong there, but I, you know, affirmed to myself that the work that I had put in up to that point was working in my favor, and I was going to continue to, you know, to progress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Did you know did you know that you were going to go to UCLA, or was it, you know, whether that's just where you kind of gravitated towards, or with best offer options kind of thing?
So knowing that I wanted to kind of stay in California to be, you know, relatively close to friends and family, there was 3 schools I really boiled it down to. The first school that offered me was Fullerton, and they offered me before I even made the USA team.
Wow.
UCLA offered me after I had gotten back after I finished football season my junior year, and Cal Berkeley, which was my dream school, was the second offer. And so you ask anyone, and I was going to Cal. You know, Cal's an hour and a half away. I grew up a Cal fan. My whole family's from San Francisco. We didn't like Stanford. I didn't like the color red. I was going to Cal. You know, like it was kind of a no-brainer. And you know, like being from Northern California, you don't really. I didn't go down to Southern California very often. So you know, LA was kind of like scary. You know, you didn't really know. They had like traffic. The only traffic that we really knew was like tractors that were backing up the road. So, you know, obviously like I would go up to the Bay Area a lot to see family, but it was just a different experience. So then I went up to Cal. I took my unofficial visit, which I don't even know if they classify that anymore, but like off the books, you know, you go up there, you get toured around the campus, you see all the facilities. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go to Cal, but let's just go to LA and let's see what they have to offer. And all the offers were pretty much right on the same, you know, percentage as far as scholarship. Baseball, they don't really give out 100% scholarships very often like they do in football because there's only a limited amount.
Right.
And I don't know what was in the water, but like I walked on a UCLA campus and I was like, wow, this place, I could see myself here. I may not be the most comfortable, you know, going from a small town with, you know, 50,000 people in a farming town to LA with 15 million, but I could see myself being here. And we got back from the trip and I was like, I know it's probably not the safe choice. But I feel like if I don't leave now, if I don't get out of Northern California, if I don't experience this, I may never. And I think that's also played a big part in it. And it wasn't, you know, the easiest decision to go down there and, you know, get adjusted to a whole new lifestyle. But I'm really grateful I did it because, you know, looking back now, it was a big chance for me to grow and get out of my comfort zone, and had an unbelievable experience there too. So it all worked out. And probably the last, I wouldn't say the third choice because it's a phenomenal school and a phenomenal baseball program, but probably the one that I didn't see myself picking in any of the situations.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. That's, and I think you were there in 2010, right?
So my first year was 2012.
Okay. Gotcha.
The year after Garrett and Bauer were there.
Got it.
And so, yeah, I got there in 12, 13, 14. And then I ended up getting hurt my junior year and ended up going back for my last year, which was 2015.
And then you had 2 College World Series appearances, right?
Yeah. So we went in 12 and we ended up losing to Arizona and then Florida State. We got knocked out by Florida State. And then in 13, we went back and had a not very talented team, but a team that just rode the hot streak. And I think anyone on that team will tell you, like, the teams I played with on 12 and in 15 were very talented, but I think we all kind of took it for granted. And then in 13, we just like scratched our way and clawed our way and got hot at the right time and ended up winning the College World Series.
Wow. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was gnarly.
Congratulations, man. Yeah.
That's for sure.
I'm sure. Yeah. It's like in hindsight, it's like, damn, that UCLA pick was a good choice. Yeah. It's hard to look back and say that, say you made the wrong choice, right? I mean, you know, especially in team sports and, kind of the way you wind up, right? I mean, it's so. So what do you think about B? I'm getting like a ton on the finish on this thing. I get a huge menthol bomb on it. Getting a little bit of kind of some clove caramel on the nose of this thing, and it's definitely spicier, oakier than the first one.
Get a little peppery with the finish too, which I love.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and just so we've got some different proof points, right? So, and this is in no particular order the way these are set up, but the Huling Station, it's an MGP source product currently. They will be making their own juice shortly. It is a single barrel, and it's 116 proof. The Catoctin Creek, this one is the Rabble Rouser bottled in bond, and being it's bottled in bond, it's 100 proof. And then we go over to Sagamore, which is also an MGP product, and it's coming in at 83 proof. Two of them are at least 4 years old, and then the Huling Station is 6 years plus. I think it's like 6 years and 3 months or something. Nope, so 6 years exactly. So, yeah, so some different proof points. Generally speaking, two of them have a similar makeup, but all high rye or 100% rye. So kind of some different takes on what you may gravitate towards if you're going. And I guess the other reason I sent these out, I don't know if you can get these. You should be able to get them in Florida, but I guess being in Arizona, have you tried any of these brands before?
I have not.
No?
Arizona, man. Arizona is saturated with bourbon lovers, apparently, because I've had to just absolute hunt in the weirdest ways possible to get some bottles, because it's been pretty thin with bottles, and just a lot of clicks, I guess, with guys getting bottles not even hitting shelves.
Right.
Never, you got. I've joined all the Facebook groups out there with bottle drops, but I'm not going to go stand in line behind a building.
Yeah, not either.
To wait 3 hours. Like, I'm good. I've secured some pretty solid picks for, like, I don't know how, but like I got like an E.H. Taylor barrel proof.
Nice.
for $60.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, I feel lucky to get that, because you look at some of the Facebook groups when they're selling them for $1,000, $500. I'm like, I'm good. I'm good.
I don't roll that way either, man. There's too much good stuff out there. And I mean, these are three great expressions that, generally speaking, I think the most expensive one is Catoctin Creek, I believe. I didn't look that up. I think it's like $70, but I mean, everything here is, easily less than 100. And I would say, generally speaking, it's pretty available in a lot of places, and there's no reason to stand in line. And it's kind of like, hey, it's like, if you like Weller, Huling Station, the weeded expression is like, go down that road, man. You're going to pay fair. It's fair price. You're going to find it, that kind of thing. So,
too.
Yeah. So where are you at in Arizona? What city?
So we live out in Gilbert, probably, it's like 30 minutes southeast of Scottsdale.
Okay.
So we're like Southeast Valley, like pretty much full on strollers and car seats, suburbia.
Cool.
Yeah. Nice.
A little bit slower than Scottsdale. Scottsdale's great, man, but it's fast.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there.
When did you first get into bourbon?
So don't hate me for this.
No, we're not.
But so our AAA is in Indianapolis. and in the division for Indianapolis is Louisville. So I played in Louisville in 2018, 2019, and 2018, I was in one of those funks where you just didn't really leave the hotel room. You just kind of went to the ballpark, didn't really explore, didn't want to do any of that. 2019, I had a really, really good teammate of mine who had been around a little bit of an older guy who would always have bourbon in his locker. So we'd sit around, started getting into it a little bit. But still, even in 2019, I didn't go and do any tours. I didn't do any of that stuff. And now looking back, I'm like, how did you not do anything? Angels Envy is right across the street from the AAA ballpark.
Yep. Wow.
And I'm like, looking back now, it's a good reminder, because in baseball, you can get into these little bit of not, mental slumps where you're like, oh, I'm just going to go home, watch baseball, go to sleep, live, eat, breathe baseball. But there is an outside world going on there. And it's, you in baseball, you leave for 8 months, you're gone for 8 months, so you kind of do remove yourself from the whole entire outside world, because you're in this one little group, it's you and your teammates for the next 8 months.
Well, you're consumed, right? I mean,
Yeah. And so, to be honest, the first bottle I ever bought, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I had a teammate say, oh yeah, go buy Jefferson's Ocean. And I'm like, ooh, okay. And then I went in and it was like $100. I was like, screw it. I'm going to buy it. Phenomenal bottle.
Yeah.
So good. And so I bought that bottle, and we finished it off that year. And I had bought a couple more bottles at Costco, just like, okay, I'm going to buy some cheap bottles and kind of figure out if I'm actually going to do this or not. Mm-hmm. Well, then in November I had my daughter. So obviously we weren't sleeping very much. I wasn't really, doing a whole lot of drinking. I was kind of just surviving, really.
Right.
Then I came into spring training in 2020, and then we got, COVID shut down, fully shut down. But our new manager, who's been with us, just 2020 was his first year. He's a big bourbon guy. So I was chatting his ear off, getting a bunch of recommendations. I had a couple bottles, but nothing where I was like, I didn't really know, I didn't know what I know now. And I bought a, 1792 small batch at the ABC store in Bradenton here in Florida. And, but then when we got sent home for COVID, we went back to Arizona, and a really good friend of mine, huge bourbon guy, his dad's a huge bourbon guy, collector. He's got a full on basement full of bottles. And so I had the time to really understand all the differences between bottles and batches and single everything, right? I dove head first. There's not many things where if I'm committed to it, I'm going to commit to it, right? I'm YouTubing bourbon and all this stuff. And I think for me, also I had someone to enjoy it with.
Yeah.
I think, and that's what I think everyone in the bourbon community loves, is being able to, there's no point to have a good bottle if you can't share it with someone that you love and respect and trust. And I think that's what keeps me coming back to the bourbon community, is there's a lot of good people out there. There's a lot of good bottles out there. You open up good bottles to enjoy and share with other people. And so little by little, I kind of started buying bottles and figuring out what I like, what I didn't like, if I was into the higher proofs, lower proofs. And so I guess, probably the start of COVID. I mean, I dabbled a little bit in 2019. I kind of got my foot, in the door, but I really started to, understand and appreciate and respect, most of that early 2020. And now, I don't have a huge collection, but they're all open.
Give it time. Give it time. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, and you said it best, right? I mean, it's meeting, getting together with people, sharing a pour, talking about what you like. But I think what's also just as important is talking about what you don't like. That way you're not kind of making those same mistakes. And, and I don't know if your wife, congratulations on the new baby, by the way.
Absolutely.
Or newish baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if your wife enjoys bourbon or not. Either way, a really cool thing. So kind of like we're doing now, right? I mean, it's like, okay, well, I liked A, B's a little better. We'll talk about C in a minute, but it kind of starts to, you're not stereotyping the bourbon just because you know what it is, right? Or the whiskey. It's kind of like, okay, I have no idea what this is. And it could be any of the three. You might look at color or something and maybe be, okay, I think I know what that is. But, where it kind of, it starts to lead you, and it's going to lead you down your profile path. And, the best way to do it is kind of what you're doing, man. It's just go buy bottles.
Yeah.
And start. We've got a Heaven Hill ambassador that's coming on the show over the next few weeks. And, his big thing is bottled in bond. And he was a big proponent and kind of helped to get that fired back up and start promoting this whole bottled in bond thing, which we're having one of those tonight. And it meets some certain criteria, right? It's 100%, comes from the same, the same batch, and it's in a bonded warehouse. So all these little unique nuances. But it's, and you can literally walk in the store and probably spend $100 and pick up 4 or 5 bottles that are just absolutely outstanding, right? So, yeah. I mean, the price is one thing, but we're to the point now that you can't really, in some areas or some arenas you can, but it's, you'd be dismissing a lot of good stuff if you were solely basing, oh, that's a good bourbon because it's expensive.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I think that's like, I could drink E.H. Taylor small batch all day long.
Yeah.
And it's $35.
If you can find it.
That's one thing that I will say Arizona does have. I had one little store down by me that always had 3 or 4, no matter what. It was nice. Like an Albertsons. I'm like, why isn't anyone looking right there? Like, it's every day it's right there. But,
yeah, don't tell your friends, right?
I mean, like I bought I think I bought 1 or 2 of them, and then I had it, and I was like, no, I got to buy another one. So I think I have like 3 total, right?
Yeah,
but
sure.
I mean, if for nothing else, it's a great gift to someone who doesn't know bourbon, because it's a good bottle, it's awesome, and you're not obviously spending a crazy amount of money. So
yeah, fairly unique.
It's one of those things, man. You gotta enjoy it. You gotta share it with good people, and it's kind of like, it's a little bit of a safe space. You got good bourbon, good people, and
hey, you wind up
loose.
You wind up at places like this, meeting people you would have never met otherwise. So
exactly,
it's a cool thing.
Exactly.
So what about C? What do you think about C?
That's interesting on the nose.
No wrong answers. And whatever you're getting today, you might pick it up tomorrow and get the exact same bottle, and it might be something completely different, man. It's the cool thing about it.
I'm almost getting like more fruity on the nose.
Yeah.
I'm getting.
I can't put my finger on what the actual fruit is, though.
All right. Well, I'll lead you down the path then. I'm getting like a ton of cherry on this thing. I'm not getting like a cherry cola. I'm almost getting kind of cherry cough drop, but it's weird because I'm also getting like a little kind of like a cherry marshmallow, if that would make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like toasted cherry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And then I'm getting a little nutty, kind of, it's a little nutty on the palate. Definitely getting some oak into this thing. It's got a decent finish on it. I mean, nothing crazy, but
it's good. I like it.
That's just not at all how I would picture this bottle of this one tasting. Like with how strong that fruity off the nose.
Oh, and then the taste and the finish you get. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting like, I guess I would say the finish on this one is kind of medium. I mean, it's kind of lingering around back there, and I'm getting that spicy pepper, oaky. To your point, like I wouldn't, if you smell it, I mean, you're expecting kind of that whole, kind of that Gushers. If you remember those little Gushers candy, you bite into them, and
good.
That's what I would be expecting.
So good.
But it turns back into whiskey, and it starts to give me that, kind of some barrel nuances in there. So yeah, that's so how do we do, man? So we'll kind of go back through these as we're talking, but would you buy all 3 of these and drink them?
I mean, now that I've had them, absolutely. I mean, I think C is the most interesting for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I love B was really good. I'm assuming it's a higher proof. That peppery finish for a long time is right up my alley. little bit of like the vanilla, a little caramel, a little peppery at the end, long lasting finish. B was definitely my favorite, but I mean, it's like what we're talking about, right? Like you really can't go wrong. You really can't go wrong. Like these bottles are good. A was a little, the finish on A was a little bit short for me.
Yeah. Now I think we're going to find out that's from the proof point, but yeah, in these tonight for me, I would buy all three of these bottles and drink them. I think A, I would introduce somebody to rye whiskey with A. B, if you said, I've never drank bourbon or rye whiskey, there's no way in hell B's getting anywhere near you because you probably won't ever drink it, even though it's great.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't drink it again. And then C is one of those, hey, I've been drinking if you said like, oh, I'm a Jack Daniels guy and all I drink's Jack Daniels. And hey, if you wanted to expand and kind of, okay, well, how do I start to grow, my breadth of perspective or my, advance my palate to maybe something that's a little more unique or something different from whatever your staple is, I'd kind of push you towards the C line. So I'd use all these in a different arena. For me, what's kind of hitting tonight is I think I'm erring on your side is I'm BCA on these things.
Yeah, I think I am too.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm almost getting a little. Are you guys getting for C? I'm almost getting a little bit like that leathery finish.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I can. Yeah,
like you said oaky, but like I just had another one. I'm like, I get that like leathery. Almost like a leathery smell, right? Like for me, I always go brand new glove and I'm like, I'm going to smell my glove for a while. Oily. I kind of got that right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oily too. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can see where that kind of oily, I mean, it's just like this real crisp, clean, pronounced note that's in there. That's how I would kind of tie that leather smell. That's, it's like, I got no funk out of any of these things. And like, I'm talking about the good funk, that kind of throws you off, but the complexities in C, I think are really nice. And again, to your point, Kevin, so misleading. Like when you smell it and you get that big cherry, that Gusher's cherry bomb, and then you taste it and it just immediately kind of coats and covers your mouth and turns into, that big, nice, robust whiskey. But yeah, I'm a BCA guy too tonight on this one. So I think we're all settled on that. I think I pretty much know what they are. So B is Huling Station, C is Catoctin Creek, and A is Sagamore. And not to take anything away from anybody on how you got ranked. It's not I'd buy all three of these, but just so B, right? That's the 116 proof. So the highest proof. Catoctin's 100. And then you got Sagamore at 83. So it's pretty clear as to why, the other two kind of rides through on the finish. But again, I think they all have a different, could serve a different purpose at a different time. I mean, like golf course time, like I'm taking a bottle of that with me or a flask. I'm calling rag proper flask and I'm filling that baby up. And, that's a golf course cruiser for me. The other two, great, neat. I think C would actually work really, really well in a Manhattan with that kind of cherry flavor, and it's got that big firm backbone on that finish on the end of it. I think that'd hold up really well in a mixed drink. So
absolutely.
All right, man. So let's see. So now we can just drink freely, and get to the good stuff. So where are you playing at in Arizona? Golf.
All over. So, I train in Phoenix. It's like I work out in Phoenix. So I've played, the Raven, which is like an old, a classic course there. Whirlwind down in Chandler, where I used to live. I've gone as far as like Quintero out in Peoria Hills. One of my favorite courses to speak of.
Nice.
I wouldn't say I have one consistent course. I lived in Chandler. I just moved over to like Northeast Gilbert. But when I played in Chandler, Phil just bought a course called Ocotillo.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's like a Palm. You guys have played it or seen it?
Just heard of it.
It's like it feels like a Palm Springs course. A lot of big trees, a lot of water, really, really pretty, no desert at all, which is nice, right? You're not going to worry about
from being in the desert.
yeah, you're not going to worry about scuffing up your clubs if you're not hitting fairways. I don't hit very many fairways, so I'm good on that.
Quit bragging.
I said I don't hit very many fairways.
Oh, I know. You're going to give us your handicap in a minute, and it's going to be single digit, and that's coming from the guy that doesn't hit many fairways.
Yeah, it is. Sorry.
There you are bragging again. Exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
Man.
Yeah. So I mean, I've played all over. I mean, I've. The problem is in Arizona,
well,
kind of like it is in Florida. My main months are October. I play as much as I want, but in Arizona they overseed, so all the courses are shut down.
Yeah.
And then November, December is I play quite a bit. January gets always kind of hairy because I'm really ramping up baseball wise. I'm training 4, 5, 6 hours a day. And then obviously now with a daughter who's, a year and 3 months, like I'm trying to also be home because I'm about to be gone for 8 months, and I probably played the most frequently I did this off season, but I would play I'd go out and play 9, at 4:30 and get a quick 9 in. True North is always a classic up there. I've been lucky to play some pretty solid private courses up there. Silverleaf, which is now getting a bunch of cred from, John Rahm. And that place is unbelievable.
Well, I've actually played it several times. My uncle's a member there. He lives in DC Ranch right there. So that course is that's my, I guess I'm a little biased because now when I go there, I'm like, because when I go to Arizona, I stay with them and they're not going to play anywhere else. Right. So regularly now my aunt, she travels a little bit in kind of the ladies league kind of stuff. So they bounce around, but I think my uncle is exclusively there. So, and the thing is it's like, I really don't need to go anywhere else.
No, you don't. I mean, I actually had an invitation to play Whisper Rock this off season with my chiropractor, and it just didn't work out the last, but I'll probably get out there next off season, which will be obviously phenomenal, but it's just kind of all over the place. I'd love to play Quintero more.
Yeah.
It's like True North, but on steroids, but it's so far. You're not even in civilization at that point. That's like an hour and a half from my house. So driving out, you're gone all day.
It's a commitment, right? Yeah.
And I played there twice last off season before my daughter was born. And it's one of those courses where it's target golf, but I went out there, I shot an 83 and lost 6 balls. And then the next day I went back 2 days later and I didn't take the driver out of the bag. I still lost 2 balls because if you hit a yard deep on the green, you're out of bounds.
Yeah.
And so I didn't take the driver out of the bag except for the par 5s. And the next day I shot a 78, I think. Wow. But it was phenomenal. The greens are pure.
So the way you're describing it, and it's Quintero, right? Is that what you said?
Yep.
Yeah. Is it a fair golf course?
Yeah, I think so. It's almost like, if you don't know where your driver's going, like many of us don't, you can't hit it. The landing spots from 280 to 310 are this big.
I got you.
So I would go and hit a driving iron and just get short of that. And it wasn't crazy long because they didn't have the tip tips way back there. Right. The tip tips were 75. I think
that's where Dan always plays. That's where Dan plays from.
Yeah. I think we played it from 69, 50 or whatever it was that day. And I could get away with hitting a driving iron because of elevation, it rolls out. Right. Normal driving iron for me is 240, 250. If I get elevation, I'm hitting at 280. Yeah. You don't even need to hit a 3-wood at that point for me. So I've kind of gone all over the place and played a bunch of different places, which is nice. I'd like to join a place out there, but we're only there for 4 months. So It's
it's kind of that's a hard, and you've got so many options of great golf courses. So, I guess you kind of get the connectivity. Now your wife is probably saying you're only here 4 months. So maybe that's a decision you hand over to, no family advice here. I'm not the right one to give it, but But
I got to play Mesa Country Club actually this past off season with a friend of mine that plays on the Corn Ferry Tour, Byron Meth. That's a good spot, and they play fast, and I love that. Like their max 18 is like 345, and everyone walks there, and it's like it's a phenomenal. It's a solid track. It's very much like the courses that I would play back in California. Big tall trees, lush grass. It's not deserty at all.
Sure.
And so that was super nice. And then the fact that you're playing fast is huge.
I like to play golf. I don't like to spend 5 hours on the golf course, kind of thing. So
yeah. And then like you drive home, and you're like, okay, well I spent, like for me in Arizona. If I drive up to Scottsdale, I'm in the car for 30 minutes. I play a 4.5 hour round. I'm in the car for 30 minutes. Okay, well, I've been gone for 6.5 hours.
Right.
Like realistically, I'm getting mentally prepped for golf. I'm getting my clothes on, trying to pump myself up a little bit.
Hold on, I don't like that outfit. I need to get I need another outfit.
Definitely the black pants today, not the blue ones. We're good. But I've bounced around a bunch of places, which is nice. I've got to play a bunch of cool courses. So like there's no shortage of good golf out there. TPC obviously is a great spot out there.
Yeah.
But like I'm not going to pay $300 in January to play that course when I've played it in October for $60.
Right. Yeah. Good point. What's in the bag?
I actually just got refitted. So I was playing custom irons out from 2017 when I was like a 12. And then a couple, I've started to play more and more and more. I actually, when I lived out here in Florida, I played like 6 days a week.
Oh, wow.
Because I could go out and play in 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's like I would go in the morning and train. I'd lift, I'd hit, I'd run, throw, take ground balls, do everything. And I'm home by noon. And at that point we didn't have a kid. So like, whether my wife was at the pool, we'd be at the pool, go to the beach. But I'd go out at 4:00 and I'd play 18 and I'd be home, showered up, and we'd be eating dinner and at 6:30. So like I went from a 12, I think in Florida, I went from like a 12 to a 5, like pretty fast.
Wow.
And then I got out to Arizona, played a lot the first off season. I was out there in 18, so we didn't have a kid again. And then I started really dialing some things in. I'd gotten a new driver because like really for me, like the driver was always the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I wouldn't put it in play, just like distance wise, I was giving up for a lot for a guy who I felt like was decently strong and had some pretty high swing speed.
Right.
And we actually got it. Like I went and got fitted this year again at True Spec in Scottsdale. And I was playing the old M2 irons. When I bought them in 17, the next week, the P790s came out. And I was like, oh man, I just spent some solid cash. I just got these old M2s. Like it was definitely an upgrade from what I was playing. But so this year I went and got fitted like Halloween time. And I was a 1.8.
I told you were bragging. I told you were bragging. Hey, and this is coming from the guy that doesn't hit fairways.
Yeah. But I mean, for me, like I was still having trouble with the driver because I was super spinny. Like I was hitting, like my max driver was like 280, 285. And I'm playing with my buddies who are hitting at 320. And I'm like, what is going on? What's happening? Like this was a custom fit driver. And it was the old M3. I got fitted for it in 18. And it had a 60-gram shaft on it. And now I also had hip surgery in 2020. So I had rehabbed the whole summer. I was feeling really strong, feeling really good. I had a hip that worked again. So I believe that played a part in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had a major hip surgery where they went in, they shaved some bone down. They gave me 6 anchors, microfracture, crutches for 2 months, the whole deal. So I'd come back and I was hitting some drivers like, man, like I really, like I want to get to scratch this off season. I really want to, but I'm not hitting the driver far enough to do that. Like my irons are solid, short game is solid, putting is good. And so I went and got fitted and I went in there, I was like, I need a new driver. Like, show me what's up. So we tested my driver, TrackMan, 4,000 spin on the driver.
Yeah.
280 carry, 285 rollout. And the guy's like, you swing way too hard. You have too much power in there to be hitting it this not far. And I'm like, I agree. I absolutely agree.
That's why I'm here, sir.
Yeah. Well, so I ended up walking out with a brand new set of irons.
But no driver.
No driver. So that's the way it works. But I did agree. Like we started hitting some irons, and like the dispersion rate was just nuts because I was playing those M2s, which were fine when I was a 12. But I had been playing a lot, and I had gotten down to like 1.8 or 2 or whatever. And like my 6 iron was going, like average was going on the range, right? Because I would never hit this far on the course, but like the range was anywhere from 175 to 230.
Wow.
And they were like,
pretty,
driver or not, it doesn't really matter because you're not going to hit the green with this. And so we kind of reined it in a little bit. I ended up getting the P7 MCs, which are awesome clubs. I wanted to get the MBs, the muscle backs, but I didn't test as well with them.
Didn't agree.
Yeah. So like I actually lost some yardage, which was okay because I became more accurate.
Yeah.
And then I went and did the driver myself, and I got the sim, and I put a 70-gram black smoke hazardous shaft on there.
Nice.
And that's been
I went from
so like I have the Arco sensors that tracks your yardages. So like before, my old driver was 282. Like that was average, not just on good ones, but average. I put the new shaft on, 70-gram shaft. I went to 292 after like 5 or 10 rounds. I put the new sim head on there, and right now, like my yardage on Arcos is 312.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's
so like it was a significant difference when you're talking about 282 to 312. Not that I hit every single ball 312.
Yeah,
but
no. But it's there. It's in the swing, right? So
yeah. And so like what really I think was the biggest difference is like I'm not getting the ball flight where it's going and then just going straight up and straight down. Yeah. Like I'm hitting it lower now, but it's rolling out. And in Arizona, everything rolls out because everything's hard. So like even if you hit in the rough, it's going to roll out.
Right.
Florida, not so much. But so I took out my 4 iron, and I have a 1 iron, I have a 3 iron, and then 5 through pitch, 50, 54, 58, Scotty putter, old faithful M2 3-wood, and then the sim driver.
Nice.
So I kind of like do my bag in stages, but because I obviously like I don't play all that much, so I don't really want to go drop $6,000 on custom full bag. But I was happy with the way that my irons kind of turned out because I gave up probably 5 or 10 yards on each club, but like even my miss hits are relative. Like my miss hits are ending up pin high and not 30 yards short. No one can afford that. Like no one's short game is that good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Hey, so my ignorance here, but is baseball equipment, and I played a little bit there, like in like way nothing anywhere close. It was just I was bored, and they said, hey, we don't have enough kids on the team. Hold this glove and go stand out there. Nobody's going to hit the ball to you. You'll be fine. But like a glove, and I played, recreational softball was big back in East Tennessee. It's like, let's drink beer and let's go play softball. But it's like, but you get a good glove broken in, and it's like, I hope that glove never lets me down, and it always is with me. What about with it? So it's accurate statement, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not like, ooh, what's the next best thing for the glove? It's like, no, I hope this one never has any issues. Like relace this thing. Relace this thing. I want it back on my hand. So what about bats? Because bats are a little different, especially in the pros. I mean, it's all wood, so you're breaking a lot of bats. But is there a fitting process for bats in Major League Baseball, or is it just all feel?
It's all feel. And it's one of those things like, obviously, because they can't manipulate it so much. So like the bat companies have to be within a certain like ounces. They they have certain limitations on like, okay, the barrel size is this big and we have to distribute the weight evenly. It can't be, they have certain standards they have to meet per MLB standards.
Okay.
So I think where the variations come into play is you can go, you know, thin handle, thick handle. And like for me, like I have like really big palms and tiny fingers. So like I always like a thin handle so I can feel the bat. You can customize the bat in any way, shape, or form you want. You know, knob, the taper. So like based on how it's going into the barrel, how wide the barrel, if you want to cup the bat or not, which helps, you know, weight distribution. It's customizable, but not really. It's not like they say, you know, this bat is good for you and this bat is good for you. It's not like golf. Now, like with guys, you know, who have played for a long time and have tried a bunch of different bats, I think guys start to figure out, okay, you know, what feels good for me? What do I like? What do I feel like I'm getting through the zone, you know, well? There's no fitting process though. It's kind of trial and error. Yeah. And I think that's good too, because there are some days where, you know, you're sitting there in July and it's hot outside and you're like, I cannot swing this bat. This is way too heavy for me. You know, if you're swinging I used to use a 32.5 ounce bat, and like now I use a 31. I'm like, I don't need any extra help. Like I'm good. I'm strong enough. If I hit it well, it's going to go. But like in the middle of July, those bats feel heavy and you're like, your arms are, you know, they're jelly at that point, you know, and your legs are jelly. If you're on a 21-day bender with no off days, like, you know, you're feeling it. And I think that's where guys start to get a little bit smarter. Like, hey man, today I'm just not feeling it. I'm feeling pretty lazy. I'm feeling pretty, you know, lethargic, feeling a little heavy today. And you might drop down an ounce. You might drop down half an ounce. You might go to a shorter bat. You know, if you got a guy throwing 102, you're not going up there with a 34 ounce bat.
Right.
And I think that's where guys have started to take it into their own, you know, account. Like, how can I best help myself today? And it's every day it's an experiment of where you're at, you know, body wise, timing wise. You know, there's just times you're in a rut where you're just not seeing the ball very well, and you're not. Baseball players are so funny, like finicky almost, where you grab a new bat and it's like, oh man, this one feels good. I'm ready to go today. Let's go. Like, I got this, when you may have been really crappy for the last, you know, week straight. So a little bit of superstition there, but I would say, you know, most guys who have been around for a while kind of know what they want, know what kind of feel they want, and kind of base it off those. I mean, I've been using the same model for, I'd say probably 3 years now. Yeah. The only thing I've changed is like length and weight, and it kind of always fluctuates. When you get to the big leagues, they order you whatever you want. So you can order 100 of this. You can order 100 different bats. You also go steal your teammates' bats and you try them out for BP, and you're like, oh, this feels nice. I'm going to use this today. So that's also part of it. Everyone, man, it's like, you know, it's like when you're on the golf course. Oh, let me hit your seven. Sure. Let me see how it feels. Like that's part of it too.
Or is it the other? It's like, hey, I just got this new club or bat. Hey, you got to hit this. You got to hit this thing, or not so much.
I think baseball players are a little bit weird with that, you know, because especially in the game, you know, if you catch a 92 mile an hour cutter off the hand, it's shattered.
It's
and
pop,
you're like,
yeah.
That may be one that you've been on a hitting streak with, which I don't get like that, but some guys do. And to each his own, you know.
So I hope this don't send anything sideways. And I know we got to let you go in a minute. But so is Bull Durham a good depiction of the baseball world as an athlete, be it minors, farm leagues, professional, however you want to put it? And you don't have to answer if you don't want to.
No, I think it's a little bit of both. Yeah. You know, I think it's a good depiction of like the lower level minor leagues, but they're changing so much now about the minor leagues. Even with like this past year, they've contracted the minor leagues where there's way less teams and way less players. I mean, it's funny, like when you watch Bull Durham and you're like, oh yeah, no, that happens every day. And you're like, that's Hollywood. That's Hollywood a little bit. Right. You know, like the wedding on the field, like, or in my experience, pitching coaches don't even talk about anything other than baseball. Whereas like, I feel like sometimes we should talk about other stuff to get our minds off the game. But I think yes and no. Obviously there's always going to be things where like it doesn't apply, but there's a lot of times where like, yeah, no, absolutely. Yep. It's a grind. It's weird. You got guys playing cards on the bus still, even in 2020, 2019, 2021, you got guys playing cards on the bus and betting and drinking because, we have an off day the next day, obviously responsibly. And you're not driving your own car home from the field because you're going on the road. So, the minors, man, it's a grind, but I think it's designed that way, and I hope it gets better. But it still has to be challenging because no one wants to sit in the minor leagues their whole life.
Right.
Yeah. The end goal is to get to the big leagues.
Yeah.
The end goal is to get to the PGA Tour if you're in the Korn Ferry Tour. It's not going to be as luxurious as it is on the Korn Ferry Tour. It's not going to be as luxurious in the minor leagues. It shouldn't be, because you're not there to stay there forever. If you're content with that, that may be the last level you play, and that's awesome. That's good for you. Like, you made it to that point. But I think for the majority of guys, like, it should not be luxurious because
they're working for, they want
you're
more
working
out
for
of,
something different than that.
Yeah.
And you get to the big leagues and you see that reward pay off, and it does. It absolutely makes it worth it. The way you get treated in the big leagues, the chartered flights and the food and massage therapists there, and like it's the big leagues because you're the best of the best and you made it to the big leagues, and you're one of the numbers freaking crazy. I think it's like 19,000 in the world.
Yeah, actually make it.
Ever made it. And the number is going to change because rightfully so, they added the Negro Leagues into the MLB classification, which was way long overdue. So I'm not sure what the number is exactly, but there's a very select few guys that make it to the big leagues, and like, you should be treated the best in the big leagues.
Yeah, sure.
Like forever. That's what you're aiming for, because you're playing against the best of the best, and it's the hardest level. Yeah. Because you're playing against the best of the best.
By the way, I love the fact that we've gotten 3 Top Gun quotes tonight. I mean, it couldn't be better because it's the best of the best. I love that. Kevin, that is awesome, buddy.
Absolutely. So, the minors are a grind, and like, some of the times I wouldn't wish that upon anyone.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when you really like boil it down, you're playing a game for a living. You're getting a chance to hone your craft with 25 other dudes who are trying to do the exact same thing. And that brotherhood in the minor leagues, where you're pulling for each other and also working your butt off to be the best you can be to get to the next level and the next level and the next level and the next level. You're always working to get better, right?
Sure.
But when you get to the big leagues and you're working to get better because you want to stay in the big leagues.
Well, but that's what keeps you there, right? I mean, that's why you see people with longer careers, because it's not like, hey, I've made it, I'm just gonna ride this out. I mean, if I don't stay tuned up, somebody else is coming in that's tuning harder, and I'm out.
I mean, I've had parts of 3 big league years, and last year was on the big league DL because I got hurt in spring training. My want to get back to the big leagues is higher than ever, because I know that I've been there. I know that I've done it, but also I know the life that you can live there. And I know that it's not only the off the field stuff, but just like the overall satisfaction of like, hey man, I'm in the big leagues. I did it, but I'm going to continue to do it. I think that's the hardest part. And for young guys who may not get, crazy at bats in the beginning, like, it's one thing to get there. And everyone always says this, that they've been there. It's hard to get there. It's harder to stay. And I think that reigns true now more than ever with the way that the baseball world has gone, because there's so many good players, and it is a absolute, what have you done for me lately job. Yeah. And it's not like it's in sales, you're working on quarters. In baseball, it's every day. Yeah. Like, I've been sent up and down because I've been sent down where I didn't even play. Mm-hmm. So like,
it's like, what did I do?
But I didn't do anything. But that's the thing, like, you're working on a day-to-day basis. And obviously, like, guys like Trout and Harper and those guys are in a different category. Those guys are the 1% of the 1% of the 1%.
Yeah.
But like, you got guys like me who have gotten there and are trying to get back and stay. That there's a lot more of me's than Mike Trout. And
Sure.
obviously that guy is uber talented and an unbelievable guy, and obviously unbelievable work ethic to be in the position that he is. But I think the minor leagues are designed the way they are because, yeah, you don't want to stay there forever. There's a sense of urgency that I appreciate. Now, obviously, I don't want people to not be able to make enough money because the minor league guys don't make anything.
Yeah.
Like, they don't make livable wages. And I think that
here's your stipend.
Yeah, right. I think it's an absolute joke. But it's one of those things where it's the way it's always been, and I hope it changes. Yeah. And I think that players deserve the chance to put food on the table for their family and for themselves to be able to chase their dream. Because I know a lot of guys, not me personally, I was lucky, but I know a lot of guys who went into debt chasing their dream. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that that's, fair, but I know a lot of guys who did it and made it.
The other side of the coin is, think about, like, you're not going to have, everybody's not an A-lister. I mean, you mentioned a few names, right? You've got the elite of the elite that just, hey, it's just happening and they're working hard for it. Don't get me wrong. It's not that they're just, oh, hey, I've got it. But then you've got probably, 80% of the team that is, I can get it, but I have to work hard to maintain it and get it and keep it. And, how are you going to field the team if you've got that residual over there that's not, that's unfunded, and you're just depending and hoping? I mean, does that start to erode the sport? I wouldn't say that it has to this point, but I mean, that's kind of that's the way I look at it from an economics or a business standpoint is, you're funding this off of a unfunded, and you're making a lot of money off of it too. So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, the look, like, baseball's in a weird spot right now where the revenue has just been climbing and climbing and climbing. And, I look at it from a business standpoint. If you want a good business, you have to pay your employees well. And the better you pay your employees, the better your business is going to be. Yeah. And baseball and the players union are in such different spots right now because, I mean, they're going into a collective bargaining agreement, essentially, let's call it discussion this upcoming off season, where things are about, hopefully don't get nasty. Hopefully we can resolve it. But as we saw last year with negotiations and coronavirus scheduling and stuff like that, it was not good for the sport. Yeah. And I think for me, like as a fan, first and foremost, because I'm going to be a fan way longer than I'm going to be a player. Right. I worry about, the next generation. Like, why would a kid want to play baseball when the players and the ownership can't even get on the same page? Yep. But, when you revert it back to business, if you want a good business, you pay your employees well. But the players union and the owners are on different pages, and that just never really sits right. Whereas the NBA, they're on a different system where it's revenue sharing. Yep. So a high tide raises all boats, right? Yep. If they make money, they make money. Cool.
Exactly.
Baseball's in a weird spot where they're trying to protect the sanctity of the game and also make sure it's accessible to kids who don't have the money to. But it's like, we're in a weird spot. And I'm hoping that, as an industry, we don't lose the fact that our game is more important to 12-year-old boys and girls than it is to us. Like, it doesn't matter what we do, but for the next generation to continue this game the way it is, like the generations before us came, that we are having the ability to play this game, I think that's where there's a lot of blurred lines about where the game is at right now. Yeah. Some people would say the game's in the best spot and they're only looking at the numbers. But for me as a fan, as a player, I'm like, yeah, but why would an 8-year-old boy or girl want to play baseball when all these discussions are being, thrown out there on Twitter that may or may not be true.
Right. Kevin, that is so cool to hear. I mean, so coming from a professional baseball player, but you're actually looking at it through the lens of a fan. And I don't know if lay people or if sports fans, I don't know if we get to hear that enough. And if we do, I don't know that it's as genuine as what you just described. But looking at it from a fan of, hey, but my time playing ball is going to be, it's not going to be as long as what I'm going to get to appreciate and enjoy baseball. But that's really refreshing that there are folks that are playing at the elite level, best of the best. That's 4 times, but couldn't resist. No, but I mean, it's really awesome, man, that you're in a position that you look at it from. You can put two sets of glasses on, and you can see and appreciate it from both sides. I mean, that's great to hear.
All right, so we had Kyle Peters, PGA caddy for Mark Hubbard on the show this week, and he's at the Genesis at the Riv this week. We told him we were having you on this week as well. He is a huge Pittsburgh Pirate fan, Pittsburgh sports fan, and he wanted to know, do you have any tips in terms of where you go drink and dine in Pittsburgh?
Wow, that's a good one. Oh man, my wife is such a foodie that she would have every one of these restaurants dialed in.
That's okay. Yeah.
And I couldn't tell you the names.
Okay.
Scheduling our second show.
Exactly.
Mrs. Kramer.
Exactly. Like I am like, food for me is purpose, not pleasure. And it's one of those weird things, but like, she's Yelping every restaurant. She's reading reviews. She's got all the places. Like, so like when we go places, I'm like, where are we going for dinner? Okay. So like my family came out in 2018 when I debuted, and we went to, they were there for, I think, a week. It was really cool because I got to debut. Really cool.
Yeah. Really
cool to experience that with them. But like every night we were going to some random place for dinner, and like, it was phenomenal. Every place was spot on. But I can't really give that many restaurants, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, in 2019, my wife was pregnant. She was 8 months pregnant, so we like did not leave.
All right, I'll do you solid though. Okay, so when you come to Atlanta, you got to go to Local 3, right, Cal?
Okay.
Ooh,
that's bourbon.
Great, fantastic food. Chris Hall, which is the proprietor there, a partner proprietor, and the food's fantastic. One of the best bourbon lists that you'll find in Atlanta, and he's a hell of a golfer. He's friends with the folks at East Lake and all that. Actually, that's what we need to work in, is how do we get to East Lake and play around with Chris? And
there we go.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's an avenue.
Sure.
I know we got to let you go in a minute, but I got a couple more questions. If we're gonna speed round you, but we don't want to wear you out. So what are you drinking? I know you mentioned E.H. Taylor, but is it, if you're drinking on the regular, is it E.H. Taylor small batch? Is that your go-to?
Weller 107 Antique, my everyday bottle. That's my go-to.
You can find that regularly.
Ish.
Don't answer that question. I'm sending you a message. So, and I can find it somewhat, but yeah, that's a good. Hey,
through some of my connections, I can get it decently regularly. So.
Okay, so let me, and you may already know this, but let me share this. Sorry, I did that. But if you take 107 and you take 12 year and you blend them 50-50, you pretty much wind up with Pappy.
Yeah,
and that's what I do.
So personally, I don't like 12 that much.
Okay.
Don't hate me.
No, that's why I mix it with the 107.
Yeah. I mean, the 107 for me, like I told you guys, like my palate is like, I want spicy, long lasting finish, oaky, vanilla, caramel, peppery. And 107 for me checks all those boxes.
Shit, we own this tasting then. This tasting was because it was everything you just described.
Absolutely. For me, like 12 is just a little flat.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can see that.
That's just me. I mean, E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof, probably my favorite bottle, but I don't drink it off. I drink that. I think I've had it twice. Like
right.
That's like a holiday one for me. I actually just got some Blanton's straight from the barrel, and
send me a sample. I haven't had that yet.
Absolutely, I will. And then the gold's good. The straight from the barrel is pretty solid. I wouldn't put it up there with EH Taylor barrel proof, but definitely solid. But I would say like 107 is probably like my everyday like go-to one. Like I know I keep 3 of those on hand because I know that I'm going to drink those the most.
Nice.
You know, like I love just Eagle Rare. I mean, just like
me too, man.
Store pick Eagle Rare. I almost like I don't drink that one anymore because I don't want to run out of it.
Yep.
And I haven't put in the time to get other ones because I was trying to find other bottles.
Right. Hold on. You went from you don't have a collection or much. So we've gone from 107, 12.
Yeah.
I mean now, hey, I don't want to say you're bragging again, but like a baseball player, here we go.
well, he's got a collection, but it's kind of like, you know, like a one handicap collection, you know.
Oh, that doesn't hit fairways.
I love that. I got probably 40 bottles right now that I've collected in the past, I don't know, 18 months. And I bought one for myself in December, Elijah Craig 18 year.
Ooh, sweet.
That I'm saving. I have not hit a homer yet in the big leagues. I was in 2018. In 2018, I was robbed by Billy Hamilton in Cincinnati. Took one back from me.
Are you and Billy still friends?
No, I told Billy when he got to second base the next day. I was like, Billy, that was my first homer. You just robbed. He goes, "Oh man, I'm sorry." I'm like, "You didn't need to do that, dude. You've been on freaking SportsCenter top 10 plenty of times. Like, just let me have my day, you know."
I love that.
And
did you say when you saw him after the game? Did you say, "Billy, and that's why I tripped you"?
No, he was a super cool dude. I mean, obviously, like super athletic guy. But I bought that Elijah Craig 18 year up in the mountains when my family was away for a vacation. And I was like, I'm going to designate that as my one bottle when I hit my first homer, which hopefully is soon. Who knows? I've only had a little bit of at bat, so I'm not going to say. I mean, I wish it would have come sooner, but everyone's journey is unique. So that's the one bottle I'm saving for my first homer. And then what I really wanted to do is before I was into bourbon, like I wanted to buy a really, really nice bottle of wine on the day that I debuted and then open it up when I retired. Oh yeah. Well, I missed that mark. So I'm going to have to find something else, but coming off hip surgery in 2020, I'm like a whole new player. So I'm going to start.
When you go back in, restart the process, right?
I mean, I'm 27, but I feel like I'm 17, so we're good to go.
There you are, bragging again. I never hit fairways, but I'm a one handicap.
You can still get a good bottle of wine the year you debuted. You can still get one.
Yeah, for sure.
You just buy the bottle from the year.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah,
we've kept you longer than allowed, sir, and we really appreciate you. I do have one more question. It's been resting. I'm like, but do you? So in the ballparks that you played in, do you have a favorite?
Yeah. It's hard because it's so sentimental for me, but AT&T Park in San Francisco, which I think is like like Oracle Park. I call it Pac Bell because that's what it was when it opened up in 2001.
But the College World Series, is that the tie?
No, it's AT&T Park.
It's tough because when I played at the College World Series, we didn't play at Rosenblatt, the old stadium. We played in the brand new one at TD Ameritrade.
Gotcha.
So like there wasn't much history behind it for me. Like in 12, it'll only been open for 1 year.
But didn't you play? You played at the park in San Francisco, right?
Yeah. So I got there in 19. I ended up going. I got called up in like, I don't know, a little bit later than normal, but I got out to San Francisco. My whole family was there, which was why it was my highlight. I like grew up a Giants fan. I used to sit in my parents' bedroom and like old fashioned would keep score on like on the books, on the score books.
2, 3, 1, 4, 3.
Yeah. I'd be slashing the strikes and balls like every game, every night for years and years and years. So like as a kid, I got to watch Barry Bonds hit, man. Like the guy just changed baseball, steroids or not. I don't really care. The dude's the best hitter of all time.
That's what I was going to say.
You can't, some people do. Congrats. You can have it, whatever you want. So for me to I got to San Francisco when I was with the Pirates. I went up to the top deck. I looked out on the stadium and I was like, holy crap. Like, this is what I made it for. Like I got here, I sat in the bleachers, my first ever big league game or first ever, Giants game as a kid. I didn't move from my seat for 9 innings. Didn't move. Like I didn't want to go play wiffle ball in the park that they have there. I didn't want to go and get a soda. I didn't want to get a hot dog. Like I literally did not move. And I have so many memories there with my parents, with my mom. My mom used to take me out of school randomly and just go up to the city and watch a game. And like, for me, like that was so special for me to be able to get and be able to play on the field. Mm-hmm. And I played left field in San Francisco.
Holy cow.
The same freaking position that Barry Bonds played. And I had never played outfield before that in the big leagues.
Oh, wow.
So for me, like, it was really, really special. Obviously my wife was pregnant at that point. We were about to have our daughter, but like I had my grandpa there who was like the ultimate sports fan. I had my parents there, obviously, who did everything in the world to get me to the spot that I was. I had my nephews and my nieces there. Like, so it was a full on like sentimental experience. So obviously AT&T, Pac Bell, Oracle Park, whatever the hell you want to call it, is really special for me. PNC is baffling to me, like unbelievably gorgeous ballpark. And, as a kid growing up on the West Coast, you don't hear about Pittsburgh. But for me to like walk into that stadium and like, holy crap, this is so cool with the skyline behind you with like, wow, mind blowing. It's been some rough years for us when I've been up with the Pirates. Like we haven't been very good, and no one's trying to say the opposite. But going to St. Louis was probably my favorite baseball experience because I think more than anything, it's a really cool place to play. Obviously, there's a lot of history there. But what I really appreciate, and this is from just a pure baseball standpoint, is like they clap for everyone. Mm-hmm. They don't care if it's home or away. Like I was playing third base there, and I made a nice play on a bare hand bunt, and I whipped it over to first and made a nice play, and like they were clapping. I'm like,
that's awesome. Yeah, that's cool.
It's pure baseball, right? And you go to Wrigley and they're talking about your high school girlfriend. And it's like, well, I could have gone without that one. But, Wrigley's a cool experience too. But I think for me, like pure baseball, St. Louis was really special because obviously there's so much history and the organization runs itself phenomenally. But pure baseball, they just want to see good baseball.
Yeah.
And they're okay if the Cardinals lose if it's good baseball. And that was like through and through pure baseball. And for me as a fan, baseball junkie, baseball player, like that meant a lot to me, especially as a young guy. That made a big, big impression on me.
I've been to one Pirate game at home there. I mean, that stadium is fantastic. The experience from a fan perspective is fantastic. I think I was there in like July and it was pretty cool outside. I was like, what in the world is this? But it's pretty dang cool. Yeah. And you got the Barry Bonds tie-in there. Is there any cool things that they did for Barry back there or no? No, it's more all San Francisco stuff. They just forgot the Pirate days.
Yeah. I mean, I think it seems like everyone from the baseball, like we could go and I could talk about this for just days, but like everyone
that's
in the baseball,
next show.
Okay.
And everyone from the baseball community has kind of thrown Barry out. And I'm like,
oh, okay. I got you.
Man, how could you do that? This guy, whether you like it or not, Barry McGuire and Sosa changed baseball.
Yeah.
And Sosa and McGuire had it. I don't even know what year it was, but the race to 61 to beat the homer record.
Yeah.
That changed baseball.
Yeah.
And that brought baseball to the point it is now. Like everyone talks about Tiger and the impact that he had on golf.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the same thing.
Think about Bryson and all the noise that's being created right now. I mean, I agree with it. And it's no relation to anything that's that's conflicting on am I legal or not legal. But it's news, right? And you could wind up. It's kind of like baseball. You could wind up kind of mid game. There's a reason they have a 7th inning stretch, because you could wind up at a lull and we've lost everybody. We need to get them back in the game. And that's exactly what Bryson's doing. I think it's what the USGA is doing with the proposed rule changes. I don't actually know if they're going to go through, if other than it's just marketing and noise and things that are happening that's like, hey, well, this could be something that we look at for these reasons, because is the amateur average golfer watching and paying attention to that? But to your point, not to get back on golf again, even though it is a golf show. But I mean, to your point, like it's like that created news and a buzz. And I mean, it was like, it was actually steroids for MLB.
Yeah. I mean, like that catapulted the game into the next era. And like, we as a fan, like we kind of hit a little bit of a lull right after that, like you're talking about. And then it's really never rebounded, but then you have these TV deals that get thrown into it that kind of make up for it. And like, it makes it seem like it's going great. But look, man, I don't care. I've never personally taken steroids. I don't know how it affects your body.
Yeah.
But those hands, those eyes, the way that he went about his at-bats, the way that he, like, best at-bat of all time, hands down, Gagne versus Bonds. It was like a 13-pitch at-bat. He's fouling off like 90-mile-an-hour sliders, which back then was nuts. Now that's like on the reg. And he pulls one foul like 99 into McCovey Cove, and everyone's like, but that was good for baseball. That's what drew kids like me into the game. And not only kids, but you had kids' dads that were like, let's go outside and let's hit homers.
Yeah.
And you had kids' grandparents like, back in my day, Willie Mays was playing. I had all those stories, man. That was what like lit the fire under my butt to go play baseball. And I think that the talent is so spread out now that, there's a lot of good players, but especially with media, like if one guy has one good year and he's not the best the next year, like, you're out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're a dog all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to be great every year and like that. But even then you have Trout, and he's underappreciated because he's been the most consistent player of our generation. And because he plays in Anaheim, 30 miles outside of LA, he doesn't get the press because he's not in the East Coast. No one on the East Coast is staying up to watch an Angels game at 10:30.
Nope.
Not happening.
Mm-mm.
So I could talk for hours on this stuff.
I know. We gotta let you go.
We'll get if we can get into it next time, I'd be more than happy to.
If we didn't screw this up too well, let me rephrase it, because Dan always gets mad.
I've got one golf
when
question
I say
to ask him at the end here.
Okay,
but
well, yeah. If I say we, and Dan's like, there is no we. It's you that did the talking. So if I didn't screw this up too bad, I would really like to do a completely different tasting. And I know your schedule is going to get screwy, so it could be, we don't know when it's going to be, but we'd love to have you back on. I mean, I think I said it earlier. I mean, the insights that you gave from a player and from a player and a fan. I mean, I don't know. I didn't know Kevin Kramer, and I don't know you in person yet, but I know you as far as what we've shared. And, I thought it was going to be a cool conversation. We got a baseball player on, and it's going to be a fun chat. I have so much more respect for you, and not that I didn't have respect for you, but you've garnered a lot of respect from me from the standpoint of the way you framed a lot of the statements up in the conversation about. Oh no! Are you shooing me off?
No,
I know. Well, it's 30 degrees in Atlanta. We don't have bugs right now. So, yeah, hey, you're bragging again. There you go.
Yeah,
but I really thought. I mean, the way you addressed some of the statements, man. I mean, it goes to show that if you're not following it, and it's sometimes, hey, find out who's playing on the team, find out who's out there, because there are people that are kind of moving through and that are on the team that are really cool to follow, other than the, one or two or three, whatever, kind of, I can't label it, but it's a really cool thing to get to talk to somebody that's in the trenches, and that's that's making it work. So, man, I appreciate it so much, and I'm glad you enjoyed the whiskey.
First off, Kevin, I'm gonna warn you. Cal's gonna ask for like 12 shots when you guys play together. All right.
Got it. You got it.
Yeah. And number two, here's my last question. What's your dream foursome?
Oh man.
No, you can't include me because I'm here and listening, and I'll be embarrassed.
I said this a couple of years back, and I said this to some friends. I think I would go Tiger,
okay,
Arnie, and Obama.
Nice. Okay.
Ooh, wow. Good one.
And I'm not a Democrat by any means, but I think Obama's got such a unique lens with his experiences, not only, as a politician, but like a guy who genuinely enjoys golf as well. Yeah. So I for me, like I talked about it earlier, but going to LA opened up my eyes to a whole nother experience, a whole nother world.
Yeah.
And I have found more often than not that, like, the more I expose myself to different perspectives, different people's experiences, like the more that I can potentially take and use in my own life. And I think, Obama as a hardcore Democrat, from where I come from, was not looked at as a, very popular president. And I'm like, you can look at it one of two ways. Oh, okay. Well, he's a Democrat and I come from a, hard right farming town. Like, sure. Hey, look, I appreciate both sides, and both sides have a lot to contribute to our history. But I think for me, like, it's interesting with Obama. Like, I'm reading his book right now and it's phenomenal. Yeah. And I probably wouldn't have said that, 10 years ago when I didn't go to LA and experience these new things.
And they said baseball players couldn't read.
Right. So I think for me, like, looking at his experiences, looking at different perspectives, like, I just want to take it all in and be able to formulate my own opinions based on a lot of different perspectives. And I think, baseball is so unique in that area where, we got guys from Latin America, we got guys from Europe, we got guys from, obviously the United States, but like so many different people. And if you're not learning from each and every one of those guys, you're not really doing yourself or your family or your community a service. Because if I was the same person that I was when I got out of high school as I am now, I didn't really do any of those people a service. I didn't grow. And Arnie obviously is a fascinating person because before Tiger, he really did grow the game.
Oh yeah.
From where it was. Oh yeah. I mean, the guy freaking founded Golf Channel.
Well, the Golf Channel. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Like, I wouldn't even be a golf fan if it wasn't for the Golf Channel. So, Arnie, I think, again, is underappreciated in this world. I think the golfers understand that and the golf community understands that. But just from a person of, like, in this world, in this society, how he treated people, I think is what this country is aiming to get back towards. And I hope we get there one day, because that's what I want my daughter to know. I want my daughter to treat people with respect, even if they have a different opinion. That's great. Awesome. Yeah. What can I learn from you? How can I help you? How can I can love you and have a different opinion. And then obviously Tiger. Yeah. I mean, the guy I think for me, Tiger is two parts, because you see the competitive side in him early on, and not that he's not competitive now, but you also see the human side of him now. Sure. And that's always something that I've kind of wrestled with, of like, being from a small town, people saw me as an athlete and not a person. And now that I have a daughter, I'm like, I am the role model every day for her. And how I want her to see me is how I need to act every day. And I'm a dad first. And then I'm Kevin Kramer second. And then I am baseball player Kevin third. Right. So, like, we talk about the window of opportunity with being a baseball player. Cool. I'll be a baseball player for however long I have. But in reality, like, I'm going to be a dad way longer.
Lasts a lifetime.
Right. And it's up to me to establish how I want her to see me as a person. And then I'm a baseball player as my job, not I'm a baseball player and then a dad and then a human.
Right.
So I think Tiger is interesting in that when you really dive into his career, and you see it more now than ever, right? Like he talks to JT all the time about, certain courses, and he's talking to Rory, and he's mentoring guys, and you never saw that before. And as a kid growing up, I didn't watch Tiger because I didn't get into golf.
Right.
But like I go back and watch freaking Tiger in 1997 YouTube, man. I'm watching the videos, and he's a savage.
No, he's a killer. He's a killer. He's a stone cold killer.
And I appreciate that. But I also appreciate now that he's a human being and is showing the softer side of him, but also maintaining the killer assassin type that he is on the course.
He can't teach that killer mentality. It almost comes off-putting. And I don't know that it's him doing it. But when Tiger did it, I didn't take it off-putting. When all these other guys were doing it, I take it a little off-putting. And we don't have to name names, but I'm like Tiger never, because Tiger was like out of the picture, right? You didn't see him. There was no, and then, and now these other guys are trying to give that killer image. And I think they're doing a pretty shitty job of it. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them. Well,
you got to create your own thing, right? Yeah. You can't like try to replicate Tiger. No one's going to do that.
Right.
Like, it's just not going to happen, man. You got to create your own thing. And, while you can replicate greatness, you can't replicate his routine.
Yeah.
Like you can't wear a certain shirt on Sunday because you think that you want to wear blue on Sunday now. Like, no, Tiger wears red on Sunday because that's what Tiger does. So like, you gotta create some of your own, routines and things about you. Like no one's ever going to replicate Tiger. Like you can't try to be Barry Bonds. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Be your own guy and create the greatness that you set out to strive for.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you, I think that foursome is really cool. And I will tell you, I would love to be a fly on the wall because the trash talk between all three and including you four is going to be insane. I can see Barry being a ton of a trash talk. I know Tiger is secretly a huge trash talker, and Arnie is too. Yeah. So
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Kevin Kramer, you have been more than generous, sir. I hope we're not in trouble and it's like you can't hang out with those guys again, even though it happens often. And I'm not talking from agents or sponsors. I'm talking about from the most important, or maybe second most important, equally important first person.
Equally important.
Yeah. I'm trying to frame that up right. So, but I've loved it. Dan's loved it. We've really gone through some really cool stuff with you. And like I said, man, we'd love to have you back on the show and chat when you're available. And I'm gonna blow your mind with the next stuff I'm sending in. I've already written it down. You're getting barrel finished the next time.
Oh, baby. All right, I'm in.
Hold on. If you call me baby again, we're going to have issues. Not you and me, but I'm saying it the home front.
I appreciate it, guys. It's been a good time. It's been a good time. I'm always up for chatting with some bourbon and some golf and some ball. So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Man. Cheers.
Yeah, Kevin Kramer, cheers. Hey, stay healthy this year and good luck, my friend.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.